What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So today I'm bringing to you an unboxing of the Wave of Light structure deck. Now this is a really cool structure deck. It's basically all the new support for counter fairies, and I'm really excited because there's a lot of really cool cards and some nice reprints in this structure deck as a whole. I always say that you guys should support your local game store, buy 3 of these structure decks, because typically some of the cards in these structure decks can actually be worth the investment in the long term. I mean, hell, look at a card like Shadow Mist. Shadow Mist hasn't had a reprint in years and is one of the most expensive cards out of, you guessed it, the Hero Strike structure deck. So I always say these are a nice investment. They got a ton of good staples typically, and it's always nice to get the new support out of these decks. So what I wanted to do today, I just wanted to go ahead and unbox one of these for you guys. I know a lot of you guys just watching these unboxings and seeing the cards and the insight that I have when it comes to, you know, the more competitive aspect of this game as a whole. So I thought I would just go ahead and do that for you guys. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get right into it and attempt to bust this open as best we can. I know these are always so much fun with all the packaging contained within. Usually these come with a rule book and a play map, but we're not really going to bother too much with those. We're just going to go ahead and get right into the deck itself. Some of the cards in here are actually really good for the counter fairy, for the counter fairy players out there. I know a lot of them, especially one in particular who also has a YouTube channel. He's been waiting for this for a long time as well, because some of the cards in here, the brand new ones at least anyway, are absolutely phenomenal. It really takes counter fairy in a different direction, and honestly just taking 3 of these and making a little deck for locals, it's not a bad budget option if you're looking for something to go that route. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cover the brand new cards more in depth, kind of discuss them a little bit, and once we get to the more common cards that we've already seen plenty of times, we're going to pretty much graze over those. So starting off, our first card is Eva. So it's a light level 1 fairy effect monster, 500 attack, 200 defense. That's not exactly too relevant, but its effect reads, if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish up to 2 other light fairy monsters from your field and or graveyard, add the same number of level 2 or lower light fairy monsters with different names from your deck to your hand, except Eva. You can only use this effect of Eva once per turn. So this is kind of cool. It's a way to kind of help replenish resources in a way, because it allows you to kind of just get more stuff out of the deck. It's a bit awkward though, because it doesn't exactly have necessarily a place in the counter fairy deck. It has like an interesting role, but it doesn't really, at least from a competitive angle, doesn't really do enough to warrant running, at least in my own personal opinion. But it's a cool card. The artwork's kind of cool. It's a little cute, but we're gonna move on from there. Next is, now this card is just fucking amazing. You see the artwork on this, but this is Sacred Arc Air Knight Parshat. So it's a light level 9 fairy effect monster, 2800 attack, big body, and if you activate a counter trap card, or if you negate the activation of a spell, trap card, or monster effect, except during the damage step, you can banish 2 other fairy monsters from your hand, field, and or graveyard. Special summon this card from the graveyard if it was there when you activated / negated, or hand even if not. If this card attacks a defense monster, inflict piercing like all Parshath monsters do, and when this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can add 1 Parshath card or 1 counter trap card from your deck to your hand. So this card is absolutely amazing because for a couple reasons. First off, if you have a couple of fairy monsters in your graveyard, this card is basically free, and that's what makes it so good. You basically just have to resolve any counter trap card, and then you're off to the races. Everything's going to be good to go. Now, the next part of this is good. Piercing's very beneficial, especially now with Master Rule 4. Everyone's running Scapegoat, so you can just pierce through a Scapegoat for 2800 easily, and then you trigger this card's effect, which allows you to not only add a Parshath card, but you can add a counter trap card, any counter trap. So now you have a way to essentially search for your counter traps, and that's a really big deal. I mean, this is a very strong boss monster for the archetype. You're not going to be running this at like 3 copies or anything, but it's very powerful nonetheless. And if you're going up against a counter fairy player, this is definitely something you want to watch out for. Alright, now moving on to the super rares. Next up, we have Power Angel Valkyria. So this is a really cool searcher. Light level 4, 1800 attack, good body. If you negate the activation of a spell, trap card, or monster effect, add 1 light fairy monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect once per turn. So this is a nice way to tutor out for some of your other fairy monsters like your Bountiful Artemis or other cards that you might be running in your deck. Again, the 1800 body is really nice. Some people might say it's a bit slow, but honestly, this card is really all upside, and I really, really like it as a whole. Now moving on, we have the Sanctum of Parshat. Now this is the brand new version of Sanctuary in the Sky, but this card has a lot of benefits that Sanctuary in the Sky definitely doesn't have. So this card's name becomes Sanctuary in the Sky while in the field or in the graveyard, very important. Monsters, fairy monsters, excuse me, on the field gain 300 attack and defense. That's pretty nice. It puts Power Angel to 21, it puts Parshat to 31, like it really just gives them a nice little boost. I think it puts Bountiful onto 19, so it gives them some pretty hefty bodies. And then set spell trap cards cannot be targeted by or destroyed by card effects. Now this is the most appealing aspect to this card because one of the biggest weaknesses of counter fairies was just getting blown out by removal, and as long as you have Sanctum of Parshat on the field, while it does reduce the number of slots you have for back row by 1, and that's why I kind of wish this was a field spell, you're basically relinquishing that to have protection for your other 4 counter traps. So that way you don't have to burn them at inoptimal moments if you have this card on the field, and that's very, very beneficial. Lastly, once per turn, you can target a total of 3 fairy monsters and or counter traps with different names in your graveyard, place them on top of your deck. So there's some synergy there with like Bountiful Artemis and stuff. If you know you're going to be activating another counter trap, that's all right. It's good for recursion, recyclability. Again, this is like the direction I feel the deck is going to take, especially from a competitive level, because that protection is completely invaluable. And the fact that you get the attack boost and everything else on top of it, and the fact it's a Sanctuary in the Sky card enables so many other synergies with the deck that it wasn't able to play before because of the deck not focusing so much on Sanctuary in the Sky. But that's definitely going to change. Next, we get to the brand new counter trap, Rebirth of Parshat. Now, this card is just nuts. So, when a spell, trap card, or monster effect is activated, reveal 1 counter trap card in your hand, then discard 1 card and pay 1,000 life points. Negate the activation, and if you do, shuffle that card into the deck. That's very important. It doesn't destroy. Then, you can special summon 1 Parshat monster from your deck or extra decks. So this is crazy because this means that you can summon out the Sacred Air Knight Parshath if you want from your deck. There's also the Synchro version that's allowed to be special summoned off of this as well. But it's cool because it shuffles the card back into the deck. It doesn't destroy it. And we've seen cards like Wiretap seen play in the past because of the fact that it shuffles the card back into the deck rather than destroying it. And that's actually very valuable from a multitude of different perspectives. That means you can dodge stuff that would trigger on destruction and things like that. This card is just absolutely fucking nuts, and you're going to be seeing a lot of this card being played in counter fairies now as a whole. The 1,000 life point cost and all that gets mitigated by Ariadne, so you don't have to worry. Again, just absolutely phenomenal card all around. And look at that artwork. I mean, that's just absolutely gorgeous. Now moving on, we have Minerva Scholar of the Sky. I actually can't believe this is only a common because this card is crazy. So basically, each time a counter trap card is activated, immediately after it resolves, this card gains 500 attack. Now that's permanent, it's not till the end of the turn. And if it does, the Sanctuary in the Sky, if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, add 1 counter trap card with a different name from your graveyard to your hand. So this is essentially a piece that just allows you to generate advantage after, you got Bountiful that's drawing you cards, and then after you've used your first counter trap, Minerva's then going to be able to recur pieces from your graveyard from there. So that's insane because essentially as long as they just have different names, you can add anything back, and Minerva's just going to be pumping up and getting bigger. It's going to be 2,000 with that new continuous spell just by default, and as soon as you activate 1 counter trap card, it's 2,500, and it's going to continue to get buffer and buffer. So this is a phenomenal card. I can't believe this wasn't one of the super rares, but overall, just great card all around. Then we have Neo Parshath, the Sky Paladin. Now we're starting to get into the cards we've already seen. Air Knight Parshath, of course we have all the Parshaths. Meltiel, Sage of the Sky is definitely going to start seeing an inclusion in Counter Fairy because of its interaction with Sanctuary in the Sky. This is a card, we've seen this before, but basically you gain 1,000 life points every time you activate a counter trap, but if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, you can destroy 1 card on the field. I'm sorry, that's actually a mandatory effect. So you destroy 1 card on the field. So that's a really, really big deal because now you have Minerva going to be generating cards out of the graveyard, Artemis is going to draw you cards, and this is going to be destroying cards. So that's basically your holy trinity when it comes to this deck, and there's a card we're going to get to that was reprinted in this deck that's going to allow us to do that. So now we have Harvest, Angel of Wisdom, you know, Bountiful Artemis. I mean, that's an auto-include in here. Lyre the Liberator, Guiding Ariadne, that's definitely an auto-include. Archlord Christia reprint is nice. Splendid Venus. Then we have Athena. Tethys, Hecatrice, Gelen Duo, that looks so weird as a common. Nova Summoner, Honest, man, so many cards from Light of Destruction. Then we have the 3 Heralds, orange, green, and purple. Guiding Light, DD Sprite, Tanewada, nice little reprint. I mean, it's kind of a side against Trickstar, but, you know, neither here nor there. Then for the spells, we have Normal Sanctuary in the Sky, Cards from the Sky, Celestial Transformation, Valhalla, and there it is, Ties of the Brethren. This is an amazing reprint for this deck, just in general, because if there's ever a moment or ever a deck that can play Ties, it's going to be one of those cards that you want to have, and Ties has only had one printing up till this point, so it's really nice to get this card in an additional printing, just for anyone who wants to have access to it. Then wrapping up with the traps, Light of Judgment, Miraculous Descent, Synthetic Seraphim. Divine Punishment is actually going to start seeing a lot of play as well if the deck does tailor towards Sanctuary in the Sky, like I hypothesize that it will, because this card is just absolutely incredible. Dark Bribe, Solemn Warning, got to get that reprint in there. Ultimate Providence, Drastic Drop-Off, Recall, which is a nice little Solemn Strike card, and then we have our synthetic token as well. So guys, that's it for this Wave of Light unboxing. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this box, or structure deck rather, as a whole. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. Guys, thank you so much for watching the video. Be sure to like the video as always. Subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. And if you found this video informative, consider backing me on Patreon, because just by pledging only $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.